see. All right.
We're live on the other platforms, just not TikTok yet.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. Schedule is crazy lately. Yeah, I ended up getting sick on the third one, so I didn't even do the third CrossFit Open.
The third one was the third one
was like the gradual. It was like wall walks,
oh man,
double unders. And I suck a double unders really bad.
Yeah, I did the third one. I got to the handstand push-ups and I couldn't. My shoulders were shot. I only got one handstand push-up.
Yeah, this handstand push-ups get you.
All right, do you see me live on TikTok or no?
Not yet.
Invite another host. Okay. It says I'm live.
I see.
Oh, here we go. I see you.
I see join.
Oh,
there you go.
This thing's so high.
Oh. I see. Oh, here we go.
Can you hear me or no? Oh no. It's like...
I might just comment and say go on. Wait, how do you do this? Yeah, I don't know if the quality is gonna be from so great on TikTok, but I'm gonna.
My son through all of that.
Yeah, because I think it's gonna echoing because we might be.
Yeah, I hear it echoing. I can turn.
Yeah, turn your volume down. Are you able to put like a comment where people say like tell them where to go if they're interested in better audio? So I think your comment stays at the top, I believe. Why does my face keep going off? Oh, there you go. I'm gonna mute my audio. All right, yeah, I'm gonna mute my audio so that way it doesn't. They'll figure it out. But, all right, so how's your day going?
Good. So I was supposed to go to the CrossFit gym at 5. I usually work out at 5:30 a.m.
Yeah.
and I had a networking thing last night at my high school, so I kind of slept in this morning. Uh, Took the kids to school, and then I went to like a local coffee shop, got some stuff done. So
I
been
got
pretty productive. Yeah.
you. Got you.
How
Hey,
about you?
just gonna jump right into it. Welcome everyone to the Money Buys Freedom podcast, episode 50. We have Michael Putman. You and your wife are like a husband and wife real estate team, right?
Yeah. So we're like full-time real estate investors. Um, I used to be a paint contractor, which was like more of a day-to-day job, or day-to-day business. This is more like a passive business.
Yeah.
And my wife kind of just handles everything as far as um, like paperwork, financials, making payments, all the materials and stuff like that. And then I'm in charge of more like the asset management, the contractors, the renovations, finding the deals, the property manager,
I
uh,
got you.
all that stuff, right? And then I have a third partner, which is my dad, who's in charge of like the financials, like funding the deals. So, but he's not really involved. So we kind of run everything, just my wife and I, which is awesome. Uh, we make all the decisions, and we've been doing that for like 3 years now, and everything's been running smoothly. No arguments, no fighting. So
Yeah, right.
yeah,
So
which
I guess from the back, kind of very beginning, how did your dad start it, and y'all just kind of evolved? Like, how did like y'all get into real estate originally?
so originally I studied real estate in college. I got
Okay.
a bachelor's degree in real estate, so I was always good at real estate for some reason. But then after college, I got into like the construction world, so contracting. I started my own business here in Miami, and we painted a lot of houses and buildings all over Miami-Dade. We even gone outside of Miami, to like Gainesville, Panama City, and I started building my connections with all like the laborers, right? So I knew someone, I knew I had great painters, and then I knew someone that did fine flooring, baseboards, all that stuff, all the cosmetic stuff. So after like 4 or 5 years of running this paint business, we actually had a huge project in Gainesville that was like painting 300 apartments.
Oh wow.
So my wife and I we thought about moving there and maybe like renting an apartment. And once we got there, I had a friend from high school who was a realtor there that told me that there was a big investor that owned all these houses and apartments that's willing to do seller financing.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I was like, what's seller financing? Because I knew I couldn't get financed by a bank traditionally because, you know, when you own a business, you make a lot, you make money, but you also, your taxes, sometimes you write off a lot of stuff on your
Yeah.
taxes. So your income doesn't really show what you made because everything is written off.
Because you're trying to prove to the IRS that you're making no money, but you're trying to trying to prove to the
Exactly.
bank that you actually do. So it's kind of
So it's
hard
a
to.
double-edged sword. So when you do that, you can't get a loan from a bank. When
Mhm.
you buy a house, or it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So the seller financing route was like really really beneficial for me because it actually gave me a chance to become a homeowner, and I had the 20% down.
Hmm.
So in this case, it was $100,000 apartment, and we needed 20 grand, and I had the 20 grand just through the paint business, saving money,
Yeah.
big jobs. You get big lump checks, and the process was pretty easy. Like the seller, he asked for my 24-month bank statements. He asked for a few referrals, and everything went smooth. We closed, and I did a video on TikTok about like kind of like all that whole
Yeah.
process, what it was like. We slept on an air mattress. We bought furniture. We bought too many chairs. We had all these like plans to to renovate the apartment. We wanted to do like tongue and groove on the ceiling and all this HGTV stuff.
Yeah, gotcha. So you watching Chip and Joanna Gaines or something, got
Yeah,
inspired?
yeah. So we had fun with it, and Gaines was kind of it's a secondary market. It's a college town, and there's a lot of like smaller cities outside of Gainesville that with a lot of
Mhm.
cool thrift shops and antique stores. So we were like checking those out and trying to like buy some cool stuff. But so that's how we kind of got started in the real estate. Was a just a one 2 bedroom apartment, seller financing, 20% down, 6.5% interest, which I thought was like super high at the time, but I didn't care.
Yeah,
Um, and it was like a 25-year amortization. So we had like our mortgage payment was like $800 or $600, 650, and then we had an HOA fee of like $100. And we lived in it for 6 months. No, less than that. We lived in it like for like 3 or 4 months. Then, like any construction project, it got delayed. It kept
yeah,
getting delayed. And so we're just living in Gainesville and we're getting delayed. So then we finally were like, let's move back to Miami. So we moved back to Miami and then we decided to put tenants into the apartment. They were renting the apartment for like $1,000. My realtor was also a property manager, or he had just started his property management business. So I think
yeah,
we were like his first client um, for his new business. And then we rented it out like right away for $1,100.
yeah.
Cash flowed about $200, 200, $300 a month. But I never met the tenants. I don't even know their names. Um, I didn't visit the property. Everything was managed, and a year went by, and we decided to sell it. And then we made so we got our down payment back, and and then we got like $20,000 more. So like we basically flipped our money.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
got that first deal. You seller financed it. Was it hard to? Was your wife like all about it at the time? Was it hard to convince her to sleep on the floor for a certain amount of time? Because we've done a lot of live-in flips, and it's kind of
Yeah.
a disaster living in a construction site. So I was curious how that was.
Yeah. So like at the time I was living at home with my mom, and she was living with me as well, and we wanted like just to get out. Like we didn't have enough money to buy a house in Miami. So this was kind of like our way to get out and experience not only becoming a homeowner, but experience like, living on our own, something that was ours, something that we can renovate. So, and at the time we didn't have any kids. All we had was a dog. And so it was easy to make that jump at that time. I think we were like 27 at the time.
Mhm.
So we made that jump and it was more exciting than scared. I've never been one to be like scared of like a new adventure.
Yeah,
Some people kind of overthink, well, what happens to this? What happens to that? I'm like, we'll figure it out type of thing.
yeah.
I don't make itineraries like when I travel. I'm like, once we get there, we'll get a hotel wherever we're at. So
You almost have to take it make it unpersonal because it's like just think of it as like a game and you're playing a game and because I feel like when you get like think about it too much, you get worked up and then you don't do it. So it's almost
yeah,
like stepping away and like, hey, if I was playing a board game or like the cash flow or Monopoly, I would be doing this move. So
dude, real estate's a game for me. It's like, how can I keep stacking my chips, right?
mhm.
Um, so if you compare it to poker, like playing your cards right and knowing how to, hold them or fold them or
Yeah, yeah,
some
yeah,
negotiating, like calling someone's bluff, So for me, it's like a game, and you got to be super conservative. You got to manage your risk. You can't be aggressive to the point where like in crypto, you can buy Bitcoin or you can buy altcoins, right? And you can, try to hit a home run. But when you're dealing with real estate, you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars, like, lifetime savings. So
mhm.
you have to be smart with your money, but it's still a game. It's still, you know, finding the right deal, negotiating, and working the terms that are in your favor. So
Yeah. So so you got that first deal. I knew now you're in like the 70 something range, but your goal is like 1,000. Why just kind of background, why 1,000? Why is that just
So
crazy number and shoot high, or
I was listening to Nipsey Hussle, and there was a line that he said like on something about his journey of 1,000 sit-ups to his journey of, and I was just like, man, like you know, kind of resonated with me. I'm like, oh, well, why not 1,000 units, right? Why 100 units? Why, 200 units? Like, I feel like 1,000 units, like, it's an aggressive but achievable goal. It gives me time to get there instead of like trying to rush to it in a year or two. It gives me like 10 years, or 10 to 15 years. So I like that number, and it just I was thinking about like a name for days or weeks, and just one night I don't know, it just popped in my head, and I told my wife, like, what about Road to 1,000 Units? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, that's it. That's I knew I wanted to hit 1,000 apartments, and it was funny because it was like right in the beginning of COVID, even before multifamily was like such a trend on social media. It was still kind of,
oh yeah,
you had the older guys that were doing multifamily, but it really like kind of the whole Burr strategy, and it really blew up in the last 2 years. So, but
so when did you buy that one bedroom, or not one bedroom, one?
the two-bedroom apartment, I think we closed like in 2018,
Oh,
2000, yeah, and closed
so
in.
that 18 you did one. What was after that one deal?
Okay, so after that, I was trying to. So once I did the seller financing deal, I was thinking about multifamily. I got this book, this one actually. So I walked into a Barnes and Nobles in Coral Gables, Miami, and I wanted a book about real estate. I knew I wanted to learn. I wanted to do like apartments, but I didn't really know the term. And I found
Yeah,
this book called Multifamily Millions by David Lindahl.
yeah, I've read that book. It's good.
Yeah, and it just like that was the first book that kind of like uh, got my brain going.
Mm-hmm.
And I read the book. I started learning about repositioning and value add and all that stuff. And then I was playing basketball Saturday. There's like a group of guys that play, a group of older guys that play basketball. One of the guys, his name's Ralph. He had already started the multifamily process. He had just closed on the second apartment complex. His first one was 64 units. The second one was 84 units.
Oh wow.
So I started picking his brain. Like, I read the book, I was learning as much as possible, but now I had someone that I can like meet up with every Saturday and ask them like questions and kind of just avoid any like mistakes in the beginning. Yeah. So then I was like, okay, I want to get into multifamily, but I don't have the money. I have a little bit of money, but I don't have a lot of money. And so what do I got to do? I got to start raising money. I got to start talking to investors in real estate, or people that that have a lot of cash and they don't know what to do with it. So I started like I, I did like a whole executive summary, uh, a spiral binder, like a whole like pitch, and then I was meeting with people and kind of like pitching like deals even before I had them under contract. Like, hey, like we can get this under contract, and we can go 80-20. I can put in X amount, you guys put in X amount, and kind of joint venture partnership deals.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, yeah, like I want to do it. So I was talking to my wife, and my dad was in the house, like overhearing me talk to my wife about it, and he just kind of like pitched to me. He's like, hey, well, why don't you invest with me? And I'm like, I didn't think you would be willing, like I didn't think that was an option. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm getting to the age like where I have to pull my money out of my 401k, but there's like a 30% tax, and like, when it comes to a lot of money, that's, it could be $100,000 or, so I was like, all right, well, okay, well, I got this deal, and it's in Pensacola, and it was 18 units, 18 units, and they were asking like 950. So we put in an offer for 900, and it got accepted. So then we did the whole due diligence process.
So take me through that y'all's for due diligence process, like from the 18 unit, because that had to be kind of nerve wracking. It's like, dang, my dad trusted me. Gotta go through this process. Fingers crossed. Take us through that due diligence.
Yeah, so my dad actually flew to the property like right away, and I guess because he was kind of skeptical,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, the property was on the outside just this brown brick. All the windows were like hazed with like mildew. Um, the property, the tenants, it didn't feel very safe, and then they took them inside the apartments. There was like mildew. There was mildew on the outside of the brick, mold on the inside, like holes in the wall, leaks, all this stuff. I mean, it was a piece of crap.
Yeah.
But it was 18 units. It was built in the 80s. It had a concrete foundation, brick on the outside. It was only a few blocks from a golf course. It was like a 2 to 5 minute drive to UWF, a university. It had like Publix, Target, Chick-fil-A. This it's called like it's like a Whole Foods but local. I forgot what the name is. So I had all this like nice retail. It was in a good location, but it was just a really crappy property. So he came back and he's like, "Are you sure you want to buy this?" And I'm like, "Don't worry, I got the team. I got the guys." I felt confident because I knew
You
that
knew
my
the question.
I knew my team down here can knock that out. Like if I tried to hire a contractor there, I would have got killed. They would have charged me twice, a double or triple the cost. So I took my team with me, all Miami guys, and we just started knocking it out super fast. And I think we were done with the renovations in 3 months.
Oh
But
wow.
for those 3 months, my wife and I, we moved there. We slept on an air mattress. We got an Airbnb, and then we got one unit renovated all the way, and then we got an air mattress, and then we slept on the air mattress. My son was just born. He was like 4 weeks old. This was
Oh,
like COVID just started, and we just didn't care. We're like, I mean, I had a lot of my family members like didn't leave the house, and my wife and I were like, yeah, we're going. We're gonna go renovate it, and it was exciting. It was our next adventure and our first big step in our like road to 1,000 unit journey.
that's
Right,
pretty good if you can convince your whole team. How far of a drive was it where you were at to?
it's like 10 hours from Miami to
Holy
Pensacola.
crap! So did you like put your whole team up in like an Airbnb or?
Yeah, so we got a motel, and I got them a motel that was like paid by the week. So I got two rooms for them, and we just stayed there for 3 months. That part wasn't as expensive, um, because it was like paid by the week.
Yeah.
But then my wife and I were in an Airbnb. You know, we had a little bit more comfort.
Yeah.
But
I mean, y'all had a 4 week.
yeah, we had a newborn. We had a little sister that was like 14, and we kind of took her with us because it was during the summer, and it was a great experience. I enjoyed living in Pensacola for the short amount of time.
Yeah.
Living in a new city is fun. We were checking out new restaurants and going to like parks and stuff like that. So it makes it like really truly a journey.
So for financing, you obviously weren't going to be able to get traditional financing for that. Did your
I
dad?
only bought cash.
Oh, you
All
got cash for the whole deal?
Yeah, because it was 18 units, 10 of the units were vacant. 10
No.
of the units were vacant. The other 8 units were month to month. And out of those 8 units, probably like 4 of them were actually paying on time. The other 4 were paying late. And then we had one unit that was like that filed for the I think it was like CDC COVID. And they didn't have to pay, or they paid, but they kind of just like paid on their own time whenever
Yeah.
the government would send them money.
So were you confident of like the back end, how much it would rent for going into COVID, things being like, oh, maybe you don't have to pay your rent or landlord or
Right. So the rents the rents were around in the area for a 2 bedroom was like $1,000. For a 1 bedroom was like 850, and this was like unrenovated. This was just like it kind of looked like a 1980s, 1990s look. What our plan was to do was to put about $10,000 to $12,000 per unit. We were gonna, put stainless steel appliances, vinyl flooring, all new woodwork, um, and we were pretty confident that we would at least get 850. And at the current time, they were paying like 500, 506, I think was the average rent. Uh, the property manager, when we signed the management agreement with them, they recommended that we list it for 850. And I just told them, I'm like, you know what? Like, let's list it at like 1100. Just kind of like let's see what the how the market reacts, and if nobody rents it out for 1100, then we'll start bumping it down as opposed to starting at the bottom and trying to work up. And they fought with us back and forth, and I was like, just do it. Like kind of like, I don't care what you like. I understand your professional like view on it, but I'm just gonna override this, and I just want you to just list it at 1100. And like the first 2 weeks, I was like, oh my god, it's not rent, it's not leasing. And then like by like the third week, we got like 3 new tenants. And I'm like, oh, okay, it worked. And then we just started we filled it up pretty fast.
So you brought 900 for cash to buy the deal. How much to like house, renovate, all that stuff included was it?
So the contract, so we agreed at 900, but then we didn't. Actually bought it for 850
Oh, okay.
because we said it needed a new roof. That there was all these like deferred maintenances that needed to get addressed. So we got $50,000. To replace the roof, it cost us $30,000, $33,000, and then the leftover money we also had it like part of our renovation budget. So we purchase price was 850, and we spent 300 on renovations throughout the 3 months. So it was pretty much like 100 on the outside, maybe less, maybe like 80 or 90 on the outside. That was replacing the roof, the exterior paint, the landscape, clearing all the trees, all the hedges that we did, the lighting. What else did we do on the outside? What cost a lot?
What?
Constant containers that we had to remove all the trash because we would fill up.
Yeah.
They were like, I forget how many. I don't know, $600 or $500 each container.
Yeah.
But we would fill it up so fast, and I was like, all right, another one, another. I think we've probably went through like 30 refills on that property.
So being a professional contractor, this is kind of what you do. Did you make any mistakes in estimating repair cost or?
Yeah. So the two big ones was the AC units and the windows. So I planned on like replacing maybe 2 AC units, and we ended up like replacing like 10 AC units. It's just like once we got new tenants, they were like, "Oh, my AC doesn't work," and then the AC contractor would come out and be like, "Hey, you got to replace this." So I was like, "Oh my god!" Every AC unit was like $4,000.
Yeah.
So it just like those were the tough calls or emails to respond to. It's like,
And windows are brutal.
yeah. So the windows, I didn't realize like how many window panes they were. So I'm a painting contractor, but I also do like vinyl flooring and casings and cosmetics. So the things that I kind of overlooked were the windows and the air conditioning. This is my first first project. So now, whenever I buy an apartment complex, that's like the first thing I look for is the AC units and the windows.
How much did the windows cost?
The windows to replace, I think, was like we got the kind of like the most economical like clear panel. I think it was like I think we had to like replace like 200 or something panels. It came out to like 20 grand.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
windows here.
obviously if you do like impact windows, you're looking at over 100 grand. You know,
They're bad.
way. But they're just like, and we had like sliding glass doors that we had to replace. I think there was like 10 sliding glass doors. So that's all, part of the learning curve. You know, um, and all the bathrooms got glazed. We hired someone local for that. For the roof, we had to hire someone local, but
So building out like kind of the team, like I know your friend was the property manager on your first deal. How was it developing your team? Because obviously you're not gonna be able to drive 10 hours
yeah.
uh, every weekend if something messes up. How is it going about picking your team there? Like your maintenance staff, your property manager. How did you figure
So
out?
basically, just so I went on Instagram, try to find property managers in Pensacola, and like really, like there was like no property managers on Instagram. It was more realtors. So then I went to Google property managers in the area. There was like a list of 10 of them, and then I was like, okay, this one seems more like single family based. This one seems like too big, too corporate. And then I kind of came down to like two of them that were like mom and pop that had multifamily experience. And then I kind of called both of them. Hey, I'm looking to. We're planning on buying an AT unit in the area. We want to get a quote, to manage the property. And then from there, you kind of test. You kind of like it's almost like an interview process.
Yeah.
So you're talking to the property managers, and you're kind of getting this like um, vibe from them, whether like your gut's telling you like, okay, this person's like detailed, they're gonna take care of my property. They understand what I'm looking for as far as like repositioning. Some of them have like kind of their old traditional ways, and they're just not as open to like, you know, as far as like different viewpoints as like raising the rent so high or whatever.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So you want to find a property manager that you can feel connected with. You know, they're not your friends. Like you can like your conversation with them is like almost as like a friendship, but at the same time, like they're really the ones that are in charge of whether your property is going to succeed or fail.
Yeah, you
You
always
kind
want
of
to have a
create that barrier, like that line, right? So so I found this property. She was like super responsive. She went to the site with me. You know, I can just tell that she was gonna like, you know,
care.
be on top of it and care, where I don't have to like constantly like nag her. And I just had a gut feeling they matched the other property management's like fees, like as far as like the percent per month and like the work. A lot of times like the work orders, you got to be careful because a property management can kill you by like keep charging work orders. Next thing you know, your cash flow is just like
Yeah.
very very low, or your NOI just drops. So
So do you have it where like it's approved to a certain amount with your property manager? Or like how do you work that
yeah,
relationship?
so anything like $200 or less, they can make that decision, where they don't have to call me. But anything more than $200, they have to call me. Um, there's been times where they haven't called me, and it was like a $300 order, and then I noticed it, and I had to call them out on it. If it's a property manager that uh, in the past has been pretty honest, then I won't. But like if I see like that there's a lot of charges, then I'm like, hey, like I'm making a phone call right away. I'm like, what's going on here? Like you're supposed to call me.
Mhm.
You know?
I got you. Because yeah, it's definitely very big. Like communication is definitely key because they're basically your COO of that property. It lives
Yeah.
by them.
But property management in itself, like that's their business too. So they got to make money for their property. So not only are they making money on like managing it, but they're also making money on like work orders, right? So they might send a handyman out to go fix a problem that might take them 15 minutes, but they're charging you 2 hours. So it's like how do you manage that where you are where you feel like you're not getting taken advantage of. So property management is is like tricky, because you also don't want to call them out on it where you feel like they're being dishonest and you lose that trust. So
So do you have it in your contract where like is it like 1 year agreements and you can reevaluate after a year? How does that? How's your?
yeah, so they do. They want. Well, every property manager wants to do like a 2 year minimum, and
Yeah.
that's part of the management agreement. You just say, hey, like I want to do 12 months. After the 12 months, if I feel like you did a great job, we're gonna just do like an automatic renewal. But most property managers will try to lock you in for 24 months right off the bat. But everything on the management agreement is negotiable.
I got you. So tell me about the back part of the deal. Let's say you had all your cash in the deal, going to get that long term financing to get your dad's money back.
Yeah, so after it was repositioned, you gotta wait like a year. So they want to know how the property is performing after a year. Then you can go to a lender. They're gonna order an appraisal, an inspection, and they're gonna. So our property got appraised at 2.2 million.
Really?
Then yeah, so we were able to get all of our money out, which I rolled that over into another property for the down payment. Kind of the same process. A bridge loan, interest only, so my mortgage payments are super low, or I can cash flow as I'm repositioning. And and yeah, so we're just rolling the money over.
So
And
you got you cashed out refinance. You took that 1.1 million and go bought another
yeah,
unit.
so then we have 22 unit in the same process. We renovated that, refinanced it, rolled it over to the 32 unit. And it's just like I can either keep that cash to buy another property or I can have it in reserve. Um, and then but you're gonna pay taxes on it if you cash it out. So if you do a 1031 exchange, you buy another property, obviously you don't have to pay taxes.
For now.
Yeah, so you know, so it's a yeah, you can put it into another property or you can put it into stocks and hopefully you make money on it and then that profit can pay for the taxes and now you have the cash.
Yeah.
Um
I got you. So I guess the backtrack. Let's say you took that 1.1, you bought a another property. That 2 point, I think was it the $2 million property. Did what kind of financing did you get? You fixed 5 or 6%
so
for
it's
5 years.
they're interest only. So what I'm doing are bridge loans. They're loan to cost, right? So they get the value of the property and then how much and then your renovation budget. So let's say the property is 1.7 million. They'll do like all right, they'll do a mixture of the down payment and the renovation budget. Let's say the renovation budget is 800 grand. They basically put those two together and then they ask you for like 20-25%, which is called loan to cost. So you use that money for the loan to cost. They'll give you like interest only. So now your mortgage payment is like $6,000, but you have a 32 unit apartment complex that's bringing in 20 something thousand dollars. So you're limiting like by doing the interest only, you are making your mortgage payments less. That way you have more cash to work with, right? You have more cash flow in the first year because you're going to be repositioning. You're going to be basically people are going to be moving out and you're going to be putting new people in. That's the whole.
So that 18, you said they did that was interest only, or that was fixed, and then the next
No,
one you have.
the 18's fixed right now. So now the 18 is fixed, but now the new property that I'm going to be renovating is interest only. Yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
like when you refinance out? Do you like to see like a certain amount of cash flow for like for a safety net, or like what do you like to see? Like do you just pull out as much as you can? Like what do you like to see?
Yeah. So for my 18 unit, pretty much cash flow is like $5,000 a month. So with that money, I just kind of like don't even touch it. I just leave it there. So it's not really a percentage. I just don't. Some months you might not cash flow because you have an AC unit that you got to replace or a plumbing issue. So, but yeah, you got to make sure you cash flow. You can't be upside down. If you are upside down or breaking even, I would recommend you just sell it. You know. But if you have a few $1,000s in cash flow, then hold on to it, and you can hold on to it for a long term, like 10 years from now, and that 2.2 valuation might be a 4 million valuation. All right, so.
So when you did your second big deal, the 22, when you did the mix between the bridge and interest only, were you nervous at all on the back end, knowing that it's probably around the time rates were starting to rise? Were you nervous at all on that?
Well, at that time, the feds weren't increasing the rates so high.
What year was
Um,
this?
what's that?
What year was that?
This is 20. So I just did a 2022 on the 22 unit.
Oh,
I
okay.
just did a refinance, and we got it at like, so when we bought the property, our interest rate, we bought it in 2020, and our interest rate was 4.5. Commercial is a little bit higher than residential.
Yeah,
When I refinanced it at 5.5,
that's
and
bad.
then it was like about a year later, we refinanced at 5.5, and then the Fed started increasing the interest rates like crazy. Like literally, like we did our refinance, and then the next 3 months, it was like another hike in interest rates.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm looking to do an SBA loan for a self storage unit, and I got quoted 7.2 plus like a 1.75 point fee,
Yeah.
and so like it's like 9.2. That's my interest rate on what we're planning on doing is building a self storage unit like from the ground up construction.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so the
So
interest rate's a little bit higher with that, but
so you did the two multifamilies, and now you're doing self storage. What? Why self storage? Just because it's recession proof, or like what attracts you there?
uh okay, so when we were buying these multifamilies, um the prices weren't so high, right? So we were still finding deals. Like I bought my 32 unit for 1.7 million. Now you can't find a 32 unit unrenovated is easily like 3.2. Everything's just so much more expensive. Finding an apartment complex at like $50,000 per unit, which was that's what I was doing. Like my Pensacola was 48,000 per unit.
Yeah.
It's just hard to find these days. It's like almost impossible.
Yeah.
Everything's overpriced. Interest rates are super high, and multifamily is just it's just tough. It's very stagnant right now. Like sellers are not willing to sell at a lower price, and buyers is just more expensive to borrow. So with multifamily being harder to find good deals, I was like, all right, let's pivot. What can we do that's similar to multifamily and that we can make good money, and self storage came up. So my plan is to find like vacant land, about 2.5 acres to 2.5 to 4 acres, and then clearing the land and putting about 300 to 400 units. And that whole process is going to cost me about like $1 million. You
Oh
know,
wow.
but if you do an SBA loan, you can get loans for like 10 to 20% depending on the credit. Um, So the idea is to build like a 300 unit self storage facility that's going to cost me about a million to maybe 1.2 million, um, and then try to flip the first one, and then try to get some cash out of it, and then do more. Like the goal this year is to do 3 self storage units.
I've heard in self storage units. I could be wrong. You probably know a lot more than I do, but self storage units is not really a more. It's not really as passive as
Yeah, so the cash flow is not as.
very very active, and you kind of have multi-purpose. Like a lot of people, you can have storage units, but I know a guy who has a fund who does self storage units. He buys self storage units, but he also like sells like U-Hauls and stuff like that to ramp
Yeah,
up his cash flow.
exactly. So that'll increase your income, and that'll boost your NOI. So it'll boost the valuation of the property. But just self storage is just like multifamily as far as like existing self storage businesses right now are very expensive. They still, everything got inflated, right? So to buy a self storage existing business is pricey. That's why we want to build them. And we're trying to build, we're not going to be building construction like cinder block, like CMU. We're going to be building prefab. So the turnover is a lot quicker to build the self storage units because it's already like uh, pre-made. They're basically just delivering and dropping it off and just setting it up for you.
So what was your due diligence in knowing that like this specific area that we're gonna build, it's actually like the demand is there?
Right. So I like the cities that I'm already invested in because I'm familiar with them. I know like this, their secondary markets. Um, you- so there's like it gets divided in like A class, B class, C class. Um, our first one's going to be in Pensacola, really close to where our 18 unit is. And you got to know the area, the population. Can it support it? How many self storage unit facilities are in the area? Is it saturated? You can see the website. You can see like are are there any self storage units, especially the 10 by 10s? They'll tell you a lot. Are they all sold out, or are they like all of the storage facilities? Are they still available? Kind of gives you an idea of like the demand of the area.
Yeah.
And then so once you like a certain area, a certain property, you order a feasibility report, which is like mine costs $7,000, very expensive.
Jeez.
But you, but you need to have that feasibility report, especially when you're applying for a loan, because it's kind of like a prereq.
And what's
And
that
then
ability? Like
so the feasibility report is like basically like they do like it's like 50 pages of them doing their market analysis, basically breaking down whether the market can support this self storage facility. Is it a good investment? Is it a bad investment? They even give you like the unit mix breakdown, what they recommend. They talk about all like the commercial retail, the population. So it gives you like a whole data report on this property, and they are verified, letting the lenders know that not only that we as investors believe that this is a good property to invest in, but a third party company and also believes it as well. So it kind of gives the bank or the lenders that like green light. Okay, this is a good investment. Um, it's not a risky investment, and that's how. And in the self storage business, it's standard to have a feasibility report. It costs a lot of money up front, but it's just part of the business.
so what's your overall opinion of SBA loans? Because I've always heard they're like a disaster because they take so long, so annoying.
Yeah. So um, it's good. So in the self storage business, the SBA 7A loan is really good because you're going to get a little bit more competitive rate on the interest. You can buy a property for a less down payment. So I think what they're quoting me now is like basically 18% down payment as opposed to multifamily where I have to put up 25% down payment. So it's a big difference, especially when
Yeah.
the property is like $1 million, $2 million. Um, they can lend you up to 5 million. So if I want to build, you know, five $1 million self storage facilities, I can do that through this SBA 7A, and they're meant to help out people like us, like getting started off in this, like new time investors. They do want to check like how much liquidity you have. They're going to check your credit, but they're also going to protect you, right? So like if it's a bad investment, they're not going to give you the loan. So as
Yeah.
opposed to like a hard money lender, they're going to give you the loan and they're going to want to get paid back in 12 months. So
Yeah, I got you. Well, just kind of shift a little bit. Kind of want to talk about you specifically. How did like everyone wants to be successful? Like, what do you feel like really helped y'all grow so fast? Because most people think like 20 units, 30 units are like nearly impossible, but it seems like you kind of like just threw it all together and just made it happen.
yeah, I guess it's just my I don't know, maybe I'm just too ambitious. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe I think, you know, I'm always thinking big, and I'm very entrepreneurial spirit. Like I'm always thinking business, whether it's very in sports, I'm super competitive, like in CrossFit and and in general. But I think it's just like not having any limitations. So I've never put any type of limitations on myself as far as like business or goals. And I just don't believe in ceilings. I think you're capable of doing more than what you actually believe. And I'd said 1,000 units was a tough task, but a capable task. And it was just kind of like the first the first goal. So I don't know. I think if you think, oh, 5 units, you kind of put like a limit on yourself, and you're
Yeah,
gonna do like 1 unit. Well, why not? Why not go after a 5 unit on your first one?
yeah.
What is
Someone's got to
it?
do it, so why not you?
Someone's already done it.
Yeah,
Everything that I've done, someone's already done. I'm not a trailblazer in this industry. I'm just I copy. Right? This
yeah,
guy did it this way. Okay, if he can do it this way, I can do it that way. Oh, he needs to raise money. How do you raise money? What's like the setup? What's the structure? All right, you have a general partner and a limited partner. This is a syndication, or this is a joint venture partnership. How do I raise money? Okay, I got to go to a real estate meetup. I got to talk to someone that's already in real estate that doesn't want to be so hands on. You know,
yeah.
I'm not doing anything that's um, like first time or unique. It's everything's been done. So like the formula's already there. You just got to copy it, right?
Yeah. I've noticed talking to all these entrepreneurs, it's like they're always constantly trying to get better. Like that's one thing when we had Ray Cash Care on last week. He was just constantly talking about your goal is just to get better, the best you possibly can every single day, and
Yeah,
then you get to become the best version of you. You'll see everything start multiplying, and that seems like at least my take on you personally. It's like your goal is like, hey, I'm getting the best I am across the best I am in business, best to my family. I'm giving the best I possibly can every single day, and that's multiplying you physically
yeah,
and financially.
right. So the best version of yourself is like the ultimate goal, right? That's the
Yeah,
formula that we're all trying to figure out, and it's like constant like adjustments, right? So now I'm waking up at 4:30 in the morning. My alarm's at 4:35 in the morning. I start my workout at 5:30. I'm home by 7. I take my kids to school at 7:30. I'm done with that at 8. And then at 9 o'clock, I'm answering emails. Like everything is already calculated in my schedule. Now, can I be better at some things? Can I be a better husband and a better father? Yeah, for sure. Like, there's things that I need to adjust, but constantly trying to be better than yesterday or 1% better and celebrating the wins, right? So, like, for example, in CrossFit, like doing something, like a PR or like, oh, I can only do it one time, but now I can do it 5 times. Like celebrating your small victories is also another important thing for me. But keeping the vision of the long term goals, being patient, not trying to be all over the place, and just every day is like my biggest things like wealth and health, right? So I'm always trying to be fit, eat healthy, take my supplements, trying to educate myself. I tell my sister, my little brother's in high school right now. Every day I ask him, "What'd you learn today?" He's like, I learned how to cheat." I'm like, all right. Well, at least you learned something,
yeah. He's using Chat GPT on all his papers now.
ChatGPT, using it as a tool, which is another interesting conversation.
Yeah,
Because I think GP4 just came out yesterday.
yeah.
But
Have you
like,
used that though?
yeah, I use it. I use it as a tool. Like if I get stuck on something, blah blah blah. Hey, help me with this scenario. Or like I even used it for CrossFit. Like these are all my weaknesses. I suck at ring muscle ups, or I don't know how to do it yet. I suck at this. I suck at this. Here's a list of 20 things. Make me a workout, and I'll do it. So
Oh wow.
that's really interesting.
I
But
use
yeah,
it for my grammar mistakes. My grammar is horrible.
yeah. Hey, this is an email. Can you make it? You know,
Yeah,
I sucked at English, and my grammar is terrible. My wife makes fun of me all the time. My grammar is terrible. I wasn't a good student at all.
yeah.
But for
But
some reason, the state was good to me. So
so I've always said, and I think I can't remember my guest that said, but he said there's so much parallels when you become a exceptional in one thing. It's easy to become exceptional in another. because you know the process and the work it took to do this, so you understand how long it takes to become the best. And it
Right.
seems like when people are like big into fitness, big into like sports, like they've already learned how to struggle through the process, and it's just the same aspect of business because it's like obviously I'm not going to wake up tomorrow I'm the best in the world or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's a process, getting constantly a little better.
Yeah. So I was an athlete in college. I actually threw the shot put and discus at FSU. So
Wow.
a lot of times I compare my business to being an athlete. Like, hey, this is my first year in real estate. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. This is your red shirt year. All right. This is where
Yeah.
we're gonna learn. This is where we're gonna make mistakes. This is we're gonna our goal is maybe 5 units, right? We're trying to get to 5 units our red shirt year. Then our sophomore year, we're trying to get to 10 units, right? We're gonna get better. Every year we get better, no matter what, you know? That's the goal. And as long as every single day I try to be the best version of myself, or I'm like educating myself about real estate through YouTube, through reading books, podcasts, whatever it is, I'm getting better. So that by my sophomore year, my second year in real estate, I'm at 10 units. And that's how I kind of treat myself. Third year, fourth year. And then maybe my senior year, okay, multifamily is good. Let's learn about self-storage. Like, let's not just be so in box with just one industry. Like, let's develop now the self-storage business and let's be good at that. And like, so multifamily is great. I learned it, experienced with it. I still can get better with it, but I also want to, evolve as a real estate investor. I want to learn about self storage.
So I love relating fitness to business because in fitness, like you're either getting better or you're getting worse. It's like if you take 1 or 2 days off, like you're going downhill, or like let's say you don't work out for a week, you're
Yeah,
obviously
like
not going
lost
to get strong. You're going to lose. It's like what in the world just happened? And or like you do a CrossFit exposes everything. You missed 1 or 2 days,
yeah,
or like a week, and then the next week you're like, dang, I just got worked. So
yeah.
it's
And everybody notices it too. I was gone for like so. I went out of town for like 3 days and like, where were you? Where were you? I'm like, dude, it was only 3 days. But like, it's like it's an everyday thing, right? It's an everyday grind.
yeah.
So
So
keeps
is it
you.
hard for you to wake up at 4:30 every morning?
I so I when I was at another gym, I would work out like around 9:30 to 12, and it was just killing my whole day, right? And I was going to sleep at midnight, and it's just a waste of time, right? So it's a learning curve. Like I'm wasting hours in the day by doing that. So how do I make the most of my day? I got to wake up earlier, which means I got to go to sleep now at 10 o'clock. So the first 3 weeks was, yeah, like the first 3 weeks, my body was getting used to the change. Now by like 8:30, I'm like, all right, I'm like a little bit tired. By 10 o'clock, I'm like, it's hard to keep my eyes open because I did so much already throughout the day, you
Oh
know.
yeah. Yeah,
So
definitely doing like CrossFit workouts and stuff like that. I'd definitely take a lot out of you too. But so what would be your best piece of advice to someone if they're just starting out, trying to become an entrepreneur, trying to better themselves? What would your piece of advice for them?
if you want to get started in real estate, seller financing was a great way for me to get started. I would definitely say if you want to get started in multifamily, whether you can, whether it's just a duplex, you want to see what you're capable of doing, right? So like a duplex in Miami is $1 million. I can't afford it, but a duplex in Pensacola, for example, might be $150,000, right? And if you don't have enough money for that down payment, then you go first people you want to go to is your family, because your family they're gonna invest with you. You might not be a great investor, but they love you, right? So they're willing to take maybe the risk with you. Obviously, you as an investor, you got to prove to them that you're more than capable of handling their money. Family, friends, people that are in real estate, um, older people that don't have the time to do the operations and renovate, and they want someone that's maybe young and hungry and willing to take that challenge. And if you have 10% of the down payment, that's great. You have skin in the game. If you don't have any cash, well, you might be able to still get some equity, but you're gonna have to do a lot of work. and whether that means you're renovating it yourself or you're managing it yourself. Um, you just want to get in the game, right? So whether it's a two-bedroom apartment in Gainesville, like I did through seller financing, or it's a duplex where you're self-managing it and you're renovating it yourself, you got to get in the game, and then you start building relationships. Always the first unit, the limited partner and the investor is going to kind of test it out first, right? And then nobody's going to want to give all the money.
So was it hard to raise money initially, like, or asking people for money? Like, it's always a weird subject, like bringing that up to people. Like, hey, asking
Yeah,
people for money in general.
yeah. I think if you're just direct and not awkward about it, and be like, hey, listen, I'm trying to. I have this multifamily property that we're looking to renovate. It's a great deal. This is, and you want to show the numbers. Like you want to have a plan of action, returns, partnership distributions. You go in with a game plan. You don't want to go in just like, yeah, I'm not sure, or doubting and guessing. And if he has a question, you want to be able to answer it. They want to feel like your stuff from front to back. So,
And do you
but
agree, like when you go to like raise money, put it into their terms, like, hey, this is what you get out of it. This is how you benefit. Kind of like tailor it toward like what their needs and what they're looking to do.
yeah, you explain to them like the the equity payouts, the exit strategy, but also you want to like show your value, right? So they're gonna be like, well, why do I need you? Well, you need me because one, I'm finding the deal. Two, I'm gonna manage it. Three, I'm gonna deal with all the renovations. So you kind of like sell yourself a little bit. So that's why I'm only putting 10% of the down payment down, and I want 25% of the equity. So you got to sell yourself a little bit.
Right.
Um, but if you don't have any skin in the game, you got to get in the game somehow.
Okay.
So yeah, raising money is tough. Everything I've done is kind of in house, and I'm kind of like I'm kind of considering pivoting and start raising money and kind of make maybe like a fund where we can put some big whales together and have a big fund that we can buy and scale up by 20 self-storage units a year. But right now, doing it on my own, growing like on our own as a family, growing organically is kind of the route that I've taken. I think it's super important when you raise money and you're dealing with other people's money, that you have the right infrastructure, you have the right investor relations in place to handle all of that, and you just don't want to just do it blindly, right? So you need to have someone on your team that's experienced with like pref equity, waterfalls, carve outs, handling limited partners and partnership distributions and all that stuff. So it gets a little bit more complicated when you're dealing with bigger money, but yeah,
Yeah, I gotcha. That makes sense.
yeah.
Um, so that's where you would you want to be next is kind of like getting to the bigger fund, and that way it's easier to, I mean,
I think you have to. I think you have to if you want to scale to a certain amount of units or properties. Eventually, the well gets dry, and then, like you run out of money, and you gotta raise money outside. So you know, if you don't want to get stuck, I think it's almost impossible to do it alone, and
yeah.
eventually, bringing up, the richest people in the world, they all partner together.
So,
So
so is that why you kind of like started getting a lot on social media? I've seen you like kind of grow your audience on social media. Is that kind of what helped motivate you to, I guess not prioritize, but see the value in social media?
yeah, so the value of social media is, one, it's great. If I ever wanted to raise money, people can go to my social media. They can see that I'm experienced. They can see my track record. Even brokers and lenders, they go to my social media and be like, "Hey, listen, like, you can see everything I've done. I put all my renovations." So the plan in the long term, yeah, it's like because of my social media, potential investors can see that I am more than experienced in this
Yeah.
industry. It kind of gives them some type of relief of like,
Like a
um,
resume, kind of.
yeah, it's like an online resume. Yeah,
I
I
got
would have to ask ChatGPT to write me a written resume.
you. Yeah, yeah, right. So,
But
do you have any like goal of like, hey, because I'm starting to like you knew like a while ago, like I'm starting to fund. I want to grow social media so everyone sees it, so I can kind of help bring like identify me as an industry leader in the space.
mhm, exactly, yeah, exactly. And I'm not trying. If I ever do raise money, it would be a couple investors. I think the more people I see real estate influencers trying to raise money from anyone, like $10,000, 20,000, Grant Cardone type of stuff,
Yeah,
and like, they're just
he's
trying.
in Miami.
Yeah, he's from Miami. Actually, a lot of my friends work for him. But hey, Grant Cardone kills it on social media marketing. I don't um, so much like his real estate philosophy, but yeah, he's crushing it. But I wouldn't want to raise money 10,000, 20,000, $50,000 at a time from hundreds of people. I would rather have like a smaller group, bigger clientele. I think it's less of a headache,
Oh yeah,
less yeah, less problems. So
less checks you have to write out too. So
yeah, less checks. So, but I'm still learning. Like I said, I know the multifamily space. Learning about raising equity and debt and capital. I think that's when you start getting to that next level and doing it properly, doing it right, where you don't get in trouble. I think a lot of people are getting in trouble right now, like syndicators, where they're trying to refinance their property right now, but interest rates are so high that they can't get the cash out what they were expecting or what they were promised. Like
yeah,
a lot of investors thought they were going to get their money back in 14, 15 months, and now it could be a few years. Um, so, so yeah, syndication can get you in some trouble.
yeah.
But
So hey, what is like I know your thousand and like your family. How do you keep work life balance between everything? Because I mean, obviously, like yeah, money's important, but then you have a small family too. How do you kind of like keep the balance between everything? Or like
that's the tough part, right? Like because um, you, I like to visit properties and make them like vacations and trips and stuff like that. So like I can check out a new city and turn it into like a vacation trip. Um, I'm always trying to improve as a father and as a husband. And sometimes talking so much about real estate or business, you have to remind yourself, hey, this is not like the time to talk about that
yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah, not everyone. That's what my wife tells me. Not everyone wants to talk about real estate all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, you're
Yeah, real estate or CrossFit all the time. So it's like
right. Yeah.
it's a
So,
good question, and I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better at it.
so
So
get into like a more like your fitness journey. So what really started you in CrossFit? Like why CrossFit in general? Just
I want to lose weight, man. I want to lose weight. I I was going to gym. I did a lot of heavy lifting in college as a shot putter, like stupid numbers.
yeah.
And then I got away from it for like 10 years. I was like, I lifted so heavy in college that I didn't want to touch, I didn't want to go heavy again. So I started playing a lot of basketball. Then I got, back into the gym during COVID. And then I was like, what do I do in the gym? I don't know. I had no structure, you know.
Yeah.
When I was working out in college, I had a program for me, waiting for me, telling me what to do. And I just was like, I gotta lose weight, so I'm gonna start doing HIIT workouts, metcons, wads. I hired a private coach. I did that for a year, but the gym that I was at just didn't have like the rope climbs, the ring muscle ups, a lot of the stuff that I need to learn to advance. Right? There's levels to this. So I did Wadapalooza, and I did like the beginner division because I'm truly a beginner in the sport. And I did well. I got eighth, top 10. Top 10 is like a huge goal. I got eighth place. And then one of my friends, he works out at Peak Fitness in Miami, which is like considered the number one CrossFit gym in
Is that
Miami.
is that Noah?
Noah Olson's there. And we have another We have another girl that's Annika Greer, who's a professional. So we have a few professionals. We had like over 50 people make quarterfinals. So it's like a really good gym. And and I went from being like the number one person in my gym to now I'm like the number 30th guy in
Yeah.
this gym. So
So
uh,
one thing I like about like CrossFit, especially like it sounds like our gyms, is like there's people doing high level stuff, high level fitness, super like always pushing themselves. I feel like the same like being in that room helps get you better also. Same
yeah,
thing with like in real estate and business, getting in a bigger room helps push your goals. If everyone's uh goals is like maybe yours is to get 1,000 units, maybe one person's a business owner wants to grow their business, but you have the same mindset. Getting in those rooms, I think, is also extremely important because I've seen me like this fitness aspect. It's like um, I have, I'm really explosive, but cardio, I absolutely suck, which is
yeah,
obviously CrossFit 101 is all cardio. So it's
yeah.
like I have people like destroying me in certain things, and hey, some things I'm good at. So it's really cool to keep that balance of always
Training
having
partners, mentors, and training partners. That's like the thing, right? So
yeah.
Ralph, mentor, he actually owned 23 individual houses all in Jacksonville, Indianapolis. Said he'll never do it again. Kept me away from Indianapolis. Got right into multifamily. 63, 83, 126. 63 was, I think it was like North Carolina. 83, Tennessee. 126 in OKC. And just like him having such big goals, like got me to like 18, 22, 32. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
Yeah.
having someone like that, and then now I'm training with Noah Olson, who's arguably top 3 CrossFitter for the last decade,
Yeah.
and just being around him, right? Like, you get to witness greatness and like realizing, okay, this is actually possible, right? And seeing how he does things, how he transitions, how he breathes, how he makes everything so efficient. You're constantly learning. So I think it's important not only to have really good mentors, to have really good training partners, you're just surrounding yourself with people who are going to lift you up. So,
And I think it's cool to see like the top tier of like a sport, like let's say CrossFit in general. Like you see how hard they work to achieve what they do. It's like nonstop every day, grind, grind, grind. It sees that say, hey, that's what you have to do to be at that level is just nonstop, day after day after day.
right, nonstop, day after day, being listening to your body, being smart, but the movements, how efficient you are, right? No wasted movements, right? No waste, like your breathing patterns, all
Yeah,
the fine details that separate you from the next guy, right? Because Noah and I, strength levels, he's a little bit stronger than me, but everything else is just so clean, so efficient. He's just, you know, been doing it for 15 years, right? So he's experiencing all the lifts, the transition. Nothing fades. Like, we probably go to a CrossFit workout like, oh shoot, this one's gonna be a tough one, and you started like thinking about it. He's done it all, so nothing phases him. And just being humble and like and the grind. He's like the grind's still there with him. You
yeah.
know,
My weaknesses are burpees, double unders, and kind of handstand walks.
handstand. Well, 3
Yeah.
weaknesses. That's good.
Well,
I
those are my worst. Like
I have.
I
I
feel
don't
like
know
I
if
can
you,
keep doing that forever.
I don't know if you can see, but I had like 20 here. My son drew all over it, but it's like butterfly pull-ups, double unders, muscle ups, rope climbs, pistols, handstand walks, wall walks, ring muscle ups, squat snatch, overhead squat. Like it's just like oh, an
Oh,
absurd list.
thrusters are it too. I don't know. I guess my wrists aren't flexible enough or something. I'm not sure. It's
Yeah,
like I can't get underneath where I'm shooting from like right here. So I don't know. But
yeah, man.
yeah. So do you have any like before we hop off here? Do you have any like last piece of advice that you would give someone like just starting out, like books you may have read? And you read Multifamily Millions. It seems like most successful people
I got
write.
another. So this book's super detailed. It's called the Commercial Real Estate Advice, the Encyclopedia of the Commercial Real Estate Advice. It's by Terry Painter, and look how thick it is. Dude, everything you want to know about multifamily, repositioning, um, it's there. Like that's my go-to book whenever I have a question and I need to go back and to something. I go to that book. So I'm also coming out with the ebook. It's called How to Build Wealth with Multifamily Investments. So that's going to be coming out soon, and that's going to be more like a beginner's guide for people how to get started. And it's going to talk about, buying your first property if you don't have any money, and so that's going to be a good starter book. But yeah, I think it's just taking action is the biggest thing, and knowing your limits. So if it's a two-bedroom apartment or a duplex, get started, right? So
Get started and get going.
yeah, yeah, man, yeah.
But hey, I appreciate you hopping on here and sharing your experience. I know that you have a lot going. Do you try to keep like a little bit time every day just to read a little bit? Because it sometimes it gets like you have so much going on. Like I used to read almost a book a month, but I almost have so much going on. It's hard to like really
Yeah,
find that time to.
yeah. I try to get it in. I was reading a book. I have a show you real quick. I got another. I'm always reading something, or I have two books here. I was reading these two this morning. This was Creating Wealth Through Self Storage, Mark Helm, and then Structure. This little book is about structuring, raising debt, and equity for real estate. So this is what I want to understand better. It's a tough read because the language is it's difficult.
Who authored that book?
Bob Beardsley.
I read that one.
So if this is the next transitional phase for me in the future is like raising capital, and like if I want to do private equity or any type of fund, I got to know the ins and outs. So this book kind of goes into detail, and it's a tough read to understand, but I might have to read it, a few times. But yeah,
My favorite business book is actually Behind You, Traction. I think that's like the best book for like growing a business. Just
okay,
'cause it
yeah, that's a
shows
good one.
you like step by step how to scale.
Business book wise, I like the Power of One More by Ed Milet. It's good. I like Ed Milet. He's very motivational. Feel like we have like similar paths for some reason. Um, so I relate well to him. And podcasts. I'm listening to. I like Rod Cleef, Michael Blanc.
What's the name of their podcast?
Rod Rod Cleef is Lifetime Cash Flow, and Michael Blanc is.
I'll look it up and put it in the description below.
Michael Blanc is something about financial freedom. Sorry, I can't. It's on the top of my head, but yeah, he's good. And
But but just to close everything off, I do appreciate you coming on here and sharing your knowledge in the commercial space, and appreciate. I love watching your journey, seeing you from I think I saw you on TikTok. I think you blowed up on there for on there pretty well.
for
But
the 18 unit, yeah,
yeah. But I do appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing your story.
of course, man, of course, Tyler.
Actually,
Yeah.
and where can people find more about you also?
So on Instagram, Road to 1,000 units. TikTok, same thing, Road to 1,000 units. I'm pretty active on it. So if you have a question, direct message me. And I'm also on YouTube and Twitter, but I think Instagram, TikTok are the biggest ones. And I'm always trying to help people, right? So it's just send me a question, and I'll try my best to give you a good answer. So
Yeah, because we all grow together. So
absolutely, and that's it, man. So I appreciate it.